Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wednesday Night Symbaroum here on Telling Tales. We're running through the Darkest Star. It's the third part of the Throne of Thorns campaign. It's taken us a while to get here, but yeah. Let's get the nonsense out of the way. Check down below for all the links you might imagine that we probably have. We probably do have them, and they're probably down there. So go take a look if that's the kind of thing that interests you. We're running some of the stuff on the channel at the moment. Monday nights is reserved for our long-running, or will be long-running, Massive Nyarlathotep campaign for Call of Cthulhu. It's an old classic, and Johnny's running through it with the Monday crew as we speak. And Thursdays is currently a monthly Yellow King thing that I'm running. It was fortnightly, now it's monthly. Hey, it might go to yearly. Who knows? But it's slow and time consuming, but also really fun and horrible. So check that out if you're interested. The next installment will be on May the 1st. Yeah, and sometimes we run one shots, but we haven't done that in a while. Some of them will come back at some point. Yeah, bear with us. The year is being a year, as I'm sure everyone else who's experienced this year is aware. So there we go. Let's start bringing on the players, and then we'll have a quick chat about what's happened up till now, and then we'll get going. So as usual, let's bring on Chris to begin with. Chris plays Steo, former infantryman and town guard turned sort of conscience of the group, sort of. And wielder of a big spear with a fascinating an in-depth backstory that exists despite Chris's objections.
Chris, once used to kill a frog.
Sure. How are you? Frog spear. I mean, that's what you do with frog spears. No, hunt frogs. Okay.
I'm going to be uncomfortably weird and say I'm actually doing okay. So apologies to anyone out there who's been shocked.
And long-time friends of Chris will know that this is shocking news. So there we go. Yeah. So obviously the prisoner was recovered. How's Steo feeling about that?
Steo is like, I'm at the point in the campaign, and I think me and Steo can share this, where things are conceptually getting away from us. There's a lot of pieces on the board. It's a big landscape of crosses and double crosses. There are lots of questions that we haven't even started to answer yet. And now we're in a room with this person who, I don't know if he's going to be as useful as he's cracked up to be, but at least he hasn't tried to kill us yet. That we can
certainly a plus in this campaign for sure. Okay, let's bring on the next player. It is Stephen, who plays Alindra, former Templar novice turned Templar not so novice turned not so Templar adventurer. Sure, that'll do.
Yes.
She's got a big sword, and she likes to use it on people, preferably while it's on purple fire. Stephen, how are you?
I am fine.
Good.
I'm sorry that I've got nothing more.
No, that's fine. I mean, that's good. You know, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, with all things considered.
Mm-hmm. And you're doing all right, and that's a thumbs up. How is Alindra feeling about rescuing the prisoner?
I think she's glad that they got him. I think she's apprehensive about what happens next. There's this the prisoner's original security arrangement was quite stringent, and we've kind of found him on a stool with his hands tied behind his back, and that's largely the state that he's in now. So, like, if he required that security before, could we contain him if we wanted to? And also, just like in general with him and with his captors, are we? I mean, this is what we're going to be deciding, right? Are we going to be handing them in? Are we going to be interrogating them ourselves? Like,
choices have to be made.
Yes. Yeah,
Absolutely.
and historically, I think Olympus felt that when we've made choices, they haven't always gone great. So, and this is another one of those moments.
I can't think of a single example.
Sure.
Let's bring on John. John plays Sir Arundar, the final remaining survivor of House Star, idealist, wannabe nobleman, and cat haver, cat owner, cat possessor. Yeah, John, how are you?
I have far too much social anxiety in my bones to say anything other than I'm great. How are you?
Okay. I have I don't have a bit for it. Yeah, I'm fine. The how is Aaron feeling about the release of the prisoner? Well, transfer into a different kind of prison.
Not good. For many of the same reasons as Alindra has already stated, but also the extra added one of Aaron's not sure we're supposed to have this prisoner, and he knows that the Duchess has people keeping an eye on us, and that maybe if the Duchess's people find us sharing a hotel room with whoever this person is, even though he's technically our prisoner, it might be quite hard to explain why we haven't immediately handed him over to the authorities.
Maybe. Not outside the realms of possibility. Finally, we've got Sam. Sam now exists in a pure white void, as you can see. And Sam plays Ascarai, changeling, scout, ranger, archer, ridiculous DPS machine. Sam, how are you? How's the void?
It's good. White, voidy. Fantastic. Everything's going well in the void.
Good. I want to be in the void. How's Ascarai feeling about the prisoner?
I think I was more positive when Ascarai thought we were just gonna find this guy and have to fight and capture / kill him. And now it seems like he's gonna tell us information that we probably don't want to know, or that it's gonna drastically complicate things compared to fighting and killing / capturing him and taking him back. That is my immediate Ascarai's immediate impression of oh god, this is not going to be. It was going to be difficult, but at least straightforward. And now it's going to be both difficult and complicated, and so bad.
Like so many other parts of this campaign.
Yeah.
Okay. So just to recap, we kind of hinted at it there anyway. But the prisoner is someone who you have rescued from the possession of a dwarfed crime syndicate, essentially, a kind of a dwarf clan who have strong links to the Inderos organized crime scene. And also from the grips of the architect of the horrible disaster at the Cathedral of Martyrs. The prisoner was held under the cathedral, is very well perhaps the reason why the disaster was fomented in the first place. He's given you some information already, but he has assured you that he will give you everything he knows should you find a secure location for him to deliver that information in. And that's not just a secure location in terms of no eyes and ears listening in, but also mystically secure. In other words, he requires some kind of mystic ritual to be performed to secure a location before he will divulge really anything to you. You also managed to retrieve 2 misguided members of the Ordo Magica who were also holding him, but have now, if not quite repented, certainly regretted their actions, and you have them secured as well. You have retreated not to your usual, the usual place you were staying, the tower, but instead to Zoltar's Inn, having a different kind of freebie stay there given to you by a different person. And I think that's where we left off, really. Just you retreating to that room, which is one large room, basically. And theoretically, no one knows you're here unless you've been tailed. So, yeah, and I suppose there's a number of options available to you about what you want to do about this. We're going to say it was definitely getting dark by the time you got back here. So, we're going to say it's kind of late night, but you haven't gone to sleep yet, unless you want to. Are we going to have a conversation about what happens next? Or are we going to go to sleep and do that in the morning? What's going to happen?
Are we able to have that conversation out of earshot of our captives?
If you talk very quietly and they don't have exceptionally good hearing, yes, you could put them all over on one side of the room. It's quite a large room. You could go over to the other side by the fire, say, and perhaps have that conversation quietly. I can't guarantee they won't hear some of it, but yeah. Or you could lock them in the room and leave and have it somewhere else, I suppose.
Yeah.
We could just have a I think Steel might be having a nightcap at this stage, and sitting down with some food, and not being conspiratorial or attempting to hide his mumblings, but he'll just kind of maybe sit at a little table and go, "Do you know what? This would be a lot easier to manage if we were in the forest. I've already thought of at least 3 different ways we could fix this in the forest.
No, we could just.
One of them is violent."
The way I see it, there are 4 people that we need to decide what we're going to do with. There's the prisoner. There's Melia and Lorenda, which I think are the names of the 2 Ordo people we picked up. And there's Artel, who we know is going to be going, who we presume is going to be going back to that location. And if we're going to catch him, I think that will be the place to do it. I think there's a good chance that we'll need help with that. He's clearly a powerful man. So
Anton leans forward and says, "Will he go back there? Some of the dwarves escaped."
So he may have had warning.
I would have to imagine that if he has some kind of bargain with them, then he would be told.
Yes, I suppose they're, in some sense, working for him or with him.
I would venture that a suggestion that, I'm not saying this is what we should do, but chasing up further with these dwarves could be an option in and of itself. They were running away to report into someone. We know they have links to that bakery. I'm not saying this is what we should do. It's another path.
Having somebody watch the bakery is not a bad idea.
I think we should do it, but we need to deal with these more immediate people first.
Yeah. If we were going to spring a trap for Artel, which I think you're right, Anton, sounds like that might not be something we could do anyway, then we could have made the case that Melia and Lorenda might be useful to us in some way in that, and that if they helped us capture Artel, then that might be an argument towards leniency for them. If that plan's not feasible, I don't see anything reasonable that we could do with those two other than to turn them over to the Crown, to the Duchess.
There are people we might be able to turn them over to, people who might be able to make use of them. But I think, like, it would be great to just get that warding spell done. Do you think they would know how to do it? Do you mind? I'm just going to go and ask them. Does anyone?
I think the captive specifically doesn't want them to be around. So maybe they could do it and then leave, but I mean...
I was thinking in the morning we could ask Ganderald.
Feels a bit harsh to get Ganderald involved in this. It'd be very messy.
I mean, it's like... The Ordo is all over this, and he's the one person that we know is an ally within them.
I think we should ask these guys that we have if they can do it in an area and leave, because that would just be involving the least amount of people. And if they can't, then maybe Ganderald. Will
if they can't, then I think they're of no use to us, and I can't see a reason why they wouldn't have to face justice. I sympathise with them, but we were specifically sent to do the job of finding out who is responsible for this, and we have them.
How many times have we, in the last, God knows how many times we've been hired for sneaky shit, been put into situations where the tables turn halfway through an operation and it turns out the people who employed us are actually the evil ones.
It's every time, Steve, but it's the Duchess. Like, what are you going to do?
Plenty of trees in the forest.
Given the choice...
I'm terribly sorry, but I'm actually trying to think of a single instance in Throne of Thorns where that's happened.
Where the goodies have turned out to be the baddies. I think what happens is that everybody is morally grey and driven by different agendas, and we find ourselves caught up in the middle of it.
I don't think there's any specific instance where, and it's a good classic fantasy adventure story trope that, like, the person who hires you turns out to be the bad person online. I don't think that's actually happened, has it?
You could make an argument of the Queen's agents sort of getting us to volunteer, not at the beginning, but for the last leg of the journey they did.
What happened with the Queen's agents is that they had an awful lot more power than we gave them credit for, and they used it on us.
Yeah. And like we knew that they were morally dubious before we agreed to work with them. That's why we agreed to work with them.
But were they really any more morally dubious than almost any other faction going after the secrets under Karvosti? Perhaps including you? I don't know. Anyway, sorry, it was just something I was like thinking about it.
I mean, Elindra said what she said, but you are right, Matt. Yeah.
Balmello. That was to Matt, not something that Aaron said out loud.
I am blanking on. No, Balmello didn't hire you to find the whatever the serial killer was called. He proposed working alongside the Flayer. He proposed working alongside you. By the way, we should be going Balmello, not Balmello. But yeah. Although arguably Balmello himself was also a very bad person. Anyway.
Meanwhile.
I agree that I don't think we can... we could try to help them, but then if we get caught, we are like... we're dead. Essentially, we'd be killed. So
turning those two in is our job here. And deciding suddenly to not do the thing that the Duchess wants us to do will have way more negative consequences than doing the thing that the Duchess wants us to do and perhaps finding ourselves in her favor. Like, wouldn't it be nice to have a powerful ally?
I think
no such thing as a powerful ally.
the only reason I can think of to not turn these two unfortunates over to the Queen's Justice we need to weigh the risk of our securing their aid being discovered against the gains of finding out what this prisoner knows. And this is all before we find out if they're even capable of creating some kind of mystic ward. Also, perhaps they would do so even if we did not release them. Though, as you say, the prisoner does not want to say anything within their earshot. Could one of us not simply secure the prisoners and take them out to the corridor?
Okay.
I'll do it.
Perhaps we do want to release them. I don't know. I am torn on it myself.
We would need an extremely good reason to release them, and it would need to be better than just not releasing them as signing their death warrant. I don't feel great about that, but
I think the reason perhaps not to release them is if we are about to be told something that changes our perspective of something by this man, and we can't release just these guys and then let the prisoner go, because then everyone will know we've let the prisoner go, that we had him and we've, listened to him and released him. We've either got to turn them all in, or we basically can't turn any of them in.
Well, we don't know the other prisoner whether to turn him in or what to do with it. We don't know who he is, or why he was there.
We are operating with less information than we need. Anton stands up and starts to go to walk over to the two Ordo Magica prisoners.
That's the kind of decisive troubleshooting we need right here.
I will go with him.
Anton stops in front of them and says, "You heard what the prisoners' demands were?" "Yes." "Are you capable of performing such a ritual?" There is a pause, and then one of them, Malaya, hesitantly nods and says, I can work a sanctum, yes." "And you would be willing to do so?" I know we have done awful things and are in no position to make demands, but what for? You going to say anything, Aaron?
Our fellow companion has requested it.
No, I think that they said that they knew, they heard that he asked that.
Right.
They mean essentially, why should they help you?
I see.
Is this just Aaron and Anton on the other side of the room talking to them just now?
Yes, although they're talking loud enough that you can hear, so you could certainly call over if you wanted.
I don't really want the Duchess and her people to kill you for your involvement in this. And I think it's not in our hands what they do, but the extent to which we try to persuade them will depend on how cooperative you can be.
Lorenda kind of shakes her head slightly and says, "A good word." She looks over at Malaya. "Do it. Do it. We have nothing to lose." Malaya nods. I will do it. It will take me a short amount of time.
Thank you. For what it's worth, thank you.
I will need my hands.
I think that is understandable. And I will reach down and untie her.
Okay. I'm going to quickly look up the ritual to see if there's any kind of description of how it kind of sort of works. No, I don't think so. Okay. She stands up and kind of flexes her hands and her wrists out. She's only been tied up for maybe a couple of hours at this point, but clearly it's relatively painful, which perhaps puts some of you in the mind that the prisoner himself has been tied up for days at this point, but doesn't seem to be complaining in any way, shape, or form. Malaya paces round the border of the room, muttering incantations under her breath. Every now and then she has reached into a pouch that hangs at her side, and she has kind of not a piece of chalk, but kind of chalk on her fingertips, and every few steps she marks a sigil on the wall of some kind until she has done an entire circuit. She then paces over to stand at the center of the room, mutters more incantations under her breath, and seems to pause for a moment to focus with a great deal of concentration. She blinks open her eyes after about a minute of this and says, It is done. No mystical eyes outside this chamber can see within. The prisoner sat on his stool says, "It is passable."
So I think for the next stage, we're going to have to ask you two to wait outside.
Maybe with
And
Revelia.
yeah, Revelia is a good pick. Revelia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. No, she's perfectly capable of that.
Yeah. She kind of gets her sword out and kind of gestures for them to leave the room. Before she does so, she actually reties Malaya's hands.
Because she's thinking.
Yeah.
Smart.
I'll
Takes them outside.
lean over to Revelia as she goes and say, try not to be too menacing. They are being cooperative.
Yeah, Revelia will nod.
Okay. The door closes with a click. You are now all in a sanctum chamber with the prisoner.
Well, this is fancy.
Could we start with your name, sir? Or whatever name you're willing to give us.
My name is Kalthar. Chris, I would like a cunning roll from you, please.
Oh no, I don't like the sound of this. Oh, that's a pass. Oh dear. Oh dear.
Steo, what? Tell me where you were when he said that.
I was definitely kind of in the room, probably poking at what's left of the assortment of finger food left in a place where everyone could access it.
Okay. Your knees buckle slightly. Something about you don't know where you know that name from, but it leaves you're breathing unsteady, and you're,
Guess I'm going to be
a slight panic attack overcomes you essentially.
Guess I'm going to be relying on my spear for stabilization and looking a bit gaunt.
You would know me perhaps better by another sobriquet. I was once head of the name translates into Ambrian as the Order of Dukovnik. Chris, can I have another cunning roll, please? You can give this one a +3.
Might need it. So that was a 16 on the dice. Cunning is... Oh my goodness, what is going on with you today? Sorry, 1 second. Windows are fighting me. And I'm on Mac. No, that's a fail. Sorry.
Okay. Maybe you are so caught up in how unsettled you feel that you don't really hear him say the second. When the Ambrians talk of the Order of Dukovnik as the Dark Lords, it is a mistranslation of a term the Order used for me. In the Lyastran tongue, before Lyastra was destroyed at our hands, they called me the Dark Lord.
Steel looks very, very calm.
And probably very, very pale.
Is Steo also holding his spear very, very tightly?
Steo is kind of propping himself up with his spear, but the stance is no longer one of I don't know what that is to a stance you've seen a few times when Steo is expecting to have to do a lot of physical exertion pretty soon.
I assume that this is a shock to you. I was taken captive when Queen Corinthia was freed. I offered to serve as her advisor. I have been locked up since then. First in Candoria. Candoria is the old capital of Alberator. Then in the cell below the cathedral since year 8. What year is it? Does anyone know?
22, I believe.
I think it's a bit later than that. I think the story starts in 21. So I think you're on 23 or 24.
23.
So myself, I think it's 23. I could be wrong. Could be 24 now. Anyway, it's been a while, clearly.
Yeah.
so for quite some time. I assume you have more questions?
Did you serve as an advisor, or have you just been a prisoner?
I attempted to serve as an advisor. Corinthia would speak to me frequently. I hope to stop her from repeating my own calamitous mistakes. I hope that she will recognize and accept the omnipotence of creation and learn to live in harmony with its laws. I am not currently doing a good job.
Do you want us to return you to Queen Corinthia?
Yes,
Okay,
but
that seems simple.
before you do, I am prepared to help capture this person behind the attack. In order to help, you must tell me more about what has happened. You must understand the initial events were confusing and overwhelming. And since I have been captive by these dwarves, these wizards, and this individual,
Kalthar, I just have one question for you. You a family man?
not anymore.
We have that in common then.
What do you already know about the
That
attack?
some great mysticism was worked, that I was dragged from my prison into a burning cathedral, away through the streets of Indaros, taken by this dwarf family, and then visited by a man who identified himself as the perpetrator. Tell me what he did, and I will tell you of him.
Well, we believe he talked those other wizards into helping him perform a ceremony which brought a meteor on the cathedral. He, I think, is looking for some kind of revenge.
Possible. The word ceremony was used.
Yes. Yes.
Has the queen survived?
Yes. The queen survived. Her fiance did not.
Ooh.
Wasn't the
You're talking about the
Queen's-
Duchess.
There. Sorry. Yeah.
The Queen was not there.
Backpedal that. Yes, the queen was not there.
Then it is as I feared. This person has reawakened ceremonial magic clearly for the purpose of shattering protection around my prison, possibly to kill the Queen, the Kohinoors. Both sides used ceremonial magic during the Great War. It always comes with terrible side effects. I will not say more on that. Knowledge is a weapon that must be handled carefully.
We are aware that other things came with the meteors.
Spirits.
Yes,
Spirits of flame.
exactly.
What else was found? Who are you looking for?
We have very good reason to believe that you were the target rather than the Queen.
It makes sense.
Do you know why?
I have some understanding. I would like you to tell me who else you are looking for. What breadcrumbs have been left behind?
Tasked with for the people who were responsible for this attack. The main that we've been following are the kidnapping, because we believe the attack was to facilitate your kidnapping.
Stephen, you might want to jump out of the stream and jump back in because your voice is all over the place.
Okay, I'll be back.
I say we wait for Lindra to return.
Okay.
Stu has just not really moved an inch and is looking directly at Kalthar, not staring at him, but definitely looking at his countenance. Seething, I think, would be the emotion you can probably just pick up on Stu.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Aaron is going to not entirely happy with his own decision, but he's going to put himself in between Steo and Kalthar.
Casually at this point, I'm assuming.
Casually. I'm just standing in front. I'm not like...
Yeah.
Just, I'm here.
Yeah.
Please don't stab through me, kind of thing.
A noble and a dark lord, that would be a good double kill.
So, yeah, Kalthar has asked the question of, I guess, what other evidence do you have? What other paths may you be following? Alindra seems fairly keen on not telling him anything other than...
Well, I mean, Alindra was saying that the kidnapping lead is the main one that we've been following, but our job here is to find whoever was responsible for the
Yeah,
attack.
When he says who are you looking for, he doesn't mean what's your job. He means who are you looking for. He's basically asking you what other information you have.
Okay.
Have we told him the name Artel yet, or did we just describe this person?
I don't think we have.
I think you may have mentioned it to him.
If we didn't, then we mentioned it to the apprentices in front of him.
Yeah, I think
so. You may have heard it back in the plot. Yeah, and I'm just going to say it. Like the other leads that we haven't fully looked into yet is that there appears to be some connection that we don't understand.
It's doing it, Stephen. I'm afraid it's doing that thing where, like, and we've had this multiple times on the stream, including you, where it does a kind of thing where it's like you talk, basically you're really talking up to the point, and then you're like, and actually what?
Yeah,
so that's what I say, and it's doing that.
Great.
Thing,
let's all do a group lowering of camera resolution.
yeah,
See if that helps.
let's all go down
Sorry,
to 720
folks.
In solidarity.
So we'll go down to 720.
Yeah.
I've just
Oh,
gone
what was
down
yours
to
at?
360.
Oh.
Okay. I mean, that's also fine.
It's theater of the mind, folks. You have
You know
to just
what?
imagine what we look like.
The fact that Stephen has gone down to 360 and I can't tell a visible difference probably means we should all be running at 480 max. So I'm going to switch to that. Oh, wow. My cam really doesn't like lighting at 480, though, huh?
Oh, you've got like a 90s video camera filter on
I
it.
like this. I like this. I'm going to
Should have
keep
used
this.
this
Dude,
for
it's like a-
Cincinnati Chronicles.
Yeah.
It's like a ventrilo call or something.
It sounded to me, Stephen, like you were mentioning House Viara.
Yes.
Is that accurate? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. For context, Elindra is fairly of the opinion at this point that this guy, if he wants to, can kill us all and wreak havoc on the city at a whim. There doesn't seem to be much point in holding anything back from him because, like, he absolutely holds all the cards here.
Sure. He looks over at you as you say that. House Viara, I would advise you to look into that matter immediately. Viara has always had its eyes on Corinthia's throne. She has spoken recently of their avarice in this matter coming to light. Very well. I met my captor briefly, along with 2 flaming servants of a nature well known to me from the pyromancers of your Ordo Magica. He introduced himself as Artel. Both the name and the person felt familiar, but I could not remember from where. He was an old man, possibly older than he looked, with a straight back and a fire in his eyes. He explained that he had freed me to gain my help, with force if necessary. He was arrogant, claiming that neither I nor the mystics of Ambria understood the truth about the power of corruption. He also claimed that together we could find out exactly why the Order of Dukovnik had failed so miserably, and that he could give me the opportunity to speak with one of the most powerful rulers in history. I told him that none of this was of interest to me. That is all that was said. He left and promised to return, well, now, tonight. My intention was to deny him. I imagine he would have used some form of physical or mystical torture upon me. I doubt it would have worked.
Why did you refuse?
Because I do not wish to put more tools of corruption in the hands of those who would use them. I wish to preserve the sanctity of life.
I feel like there's a piece of context here that we're missing that we need, which is what were you trying to do all those years ago? How did it go wrong? And I mean, why? What was the purpose behind what you did then, and what Artel may be trying to do now?
A tale so old it may be the first. Our reach exceeded our grasp. Man tries to control what they cannot tame. We sought knowledge. We sought divinity. The world does not allow it. Perhaps it should not. Then our lands were a ruin. We had to leave. In the end, as cruel and sad as it seems, the fate of Alberator was simple geography. These things do not matter now. What matters is that you must prevent this Artel from unleashing further ceremonial magics. And you must return me safe to the captivity of Queen Corinthia.
Do you think you will ever be successful in convincing Her Highness that the quest for the legacy of Symbar is at best fraught and at worst foolish?
I do not know, but I will keep trying until my last breath.
Does the Duchess know of you and your captivity?
If she does, I am not aware of it, but I am not privy to the conversations that Corinthia has with her sister.
Did anyone other than the Queen come to speak with you?
No, never.
Presumably some within the church know of your existence, given where you were held captive.
I do not know. It is
Returning you will not be so simple. Knowledge of the fact that you are alive cannot really be allowed out. You are seen as perhaps the most hated person in all of Ambria.
My identity need not be known. Take me to the royal secretarium. Tell them you will only speak to the highest representative of the Queen there. Tell them you have the cathedral's prisoner to return. It does not reveal my identity. Word will reach her. She will know who you mean. She is likely very keen to have me back under her grasp.
I'm sure.
Can just rain to
Unfortunately,
hide you until say.
Yeah, you're dipping in and out again, I'm afraid, Stephen. Yeah,
Maybe.
try turning your cam off and seeing if it helps.
Yeah. How's that?
It's still
Talk
a bit
bit more.
up and
Any
down
joke.
at the moment, but carry on talking.
So I was going to say, well, Lindra was saying, we can hide until we can arrange a meeting for somebody suitable to hand you over to. Like, if you're cooperative, then there's the war.
I swear to God, it's
It's
actual
actually
comedy at this
uncanny.
point. It's like all your phrasing terms are crystal clear, and then anytime you're saying anything of substance, it immediately cuts in and out.
All right, how's
Incredible.
this? I've switched over to. Can you hear me now?
No, it's doing the same thing.
At all? Okay.
You've got a bad
Yeah.
case of the bad internet.
They've got
Yeah.
gremlins in the cables.
Right,
Maybe try ducking out and in again, or like a browser refresh or something.
Check no one's
Yeah,
downloading
right.
anything.
Okay, is anyone else contributing stuff?
I'm not asking this as gossip. I hope you would think the conversation above this, sir. But did the Queen ever mention
Me?
an admirer?
Did the Queen ever mention House Dar? That's
Did the
all.
Queen ever mention a dashing young man with a cat?
Did the Queen ever mention what? Sorry, what was your exact phrasing?
An admirer.
That was not the kind of conversation we engaged in.
No. Well, that's good, I suppose. I would be worried if it were.
Signs are not good, Stephen. You are pixelated and patchy as fuck again. But
right. I can try this on my phone, but I think the problem might just be the internet connection.
Yeah.
maybe.
All right,
Maybe.
I'll be back.
One of the bodies found at the cathedral was an individual who was not supposed to be there. In his room, we found a rather uncomfortable letter intended for the Queen and a goblet of dried blood.
These mean nothing to me.
Good.
Yeah. What does... I don't know if you'll answer this, but what does the Queen want with Symbar?
What queens, kings always want. More.
And what did... Sorry, I'm just... To be honest, I'm asking questions out of curiosity at this point, but why did you capture the Queen? What was... And now, why were you not killed?
Hello.
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 That's immediately much better.
Seems
Okay,
better.
that's good to know. Now I just got to figure out where I can put this phone in a way that you can like see and hear me properly. But okay, we'll call this progress.
Awesome. These are questions which I am partly unsure the Queen would wish me to answer. I suspect I was kept alive first as a trophy, then as a useful source of information, and in the last decade or so, I think she just enjoys our conversations.
Well,
Okay.
if you're not lying to us, then frustratingly, the person in this world who I had dreamed the most of killing shares common cause with me.
He nods as if, yes, he understands. He's unsurprised.
So, what's the plan tomorrow? Are we going to go and shake down a bakery, bother some dwarves, go and look into the feuding houses, or deliver our captive back to the legislate?
I think if this individual is Artel's target, I would like to get him somewhere safe as soon as possible. And I assume getting him back to the Queen will be more secure than keeping him in our hotel room. Though it's hard to know for sure.
I am uncertain about whether delivering Kalthar to the Queen violates the terms of our agreement with her sister.
Because we said we'd go to her first.
I also am unsure. I'm also fairly sure we should do it anyway.
I do have some level of concern that even after delivering the prisoner back, which in normal circumstances, I'm sure we would be rewarded for, but we would then be in possession of knowledge which is the kind of knowledge we might just get killed for having, kind of regardless of what favors we've done to anybody.
How is it whenever we have conversations about dealings with the crown, we end up having these conversations about dealing with the crown?
Could we return him anonymously? He wants to go. If we just walk him to the secretarium, he could hand himself in.
I'm uncertain as to whether turning up at the door of the secretarium performs many functions, but among others, it is the Queen's house of spies. I do not know.
Is it not the case that our best chance at finding somebody as close as possible to the Queen herself to hand over to is to go via the Duchess?
Perhaps.
Yeah. I mean, it could be an option to meet that guy who came in the morning and say, we need to see the Queen herself, and we'll give you, he's probably the closest we're going to get to the Queen in a direct fashion.
We have to make the decision blind.
We would be assuming, going through the Duchess, that the Duchess and the Queen are, if not consciously, working towards the same goal. Duchess is
I would like
keeping information from us.
cunning rolls from Arindar. You know what? Every Ambrian can make a cunning roll.
Okay, one moment.
I pass.
Alindra and Steo pass. How's Arendar doing? Nope.
19.
I mean, maybe hence you being the one saying that. Steo and Alindra, the fraught relationship between Corinthia and her sister is the stuff of gossip across the entire country.
Right. So we can't assume that they're going to pull in the same direction with this. We can't assume that we're not going to create some explosive scandal by going anywhere near the Duchess with this.
Kalthar, you're clearly listening to us here. We are employed by the Duchess, and it seems like we might have a contractual concern about taking you direct to the Queen, one upon which our safety and continued life might hang. Do you have any counsel for us?
I have no concern about the value of my life other than its use in preventing Corinthia from her current course. I can only counsel that I be taken directly to Corinthia or her agents. I am simply too valuable in the hands of anyone else.
That is
figuratively.
That is a very astute point.
I think we need to keep him here and with some of us. Some other of us needs to go and say we need an audience directly with the Queen. And try to arrange that in whatever way we can.
I'm of the opinion we take him to the legislate, hand him directly over. I think if we start making noises about getting an audience with the Queen, the problems will escalate, and if he is true about his outcomes, then I would rather have him whispering in her ear than another tool in the infinite game of nonsense that these nobles can be playing.
I think if handing him over upsets the Duchess, it will, by contrast, appease the Queen. And I think having the Queen look kindly on us could negate any fallout from the Duchess not.
Kalthar, you know the Queen better than any of us. If you were to be returned directly to her, do you think she would be, firstly, grateful enough to us to protect us from the Duchess? And secondly, grateful enough that she would not seek any harm against us just for knowing of your existence?
I believe that she places enough value on your usefulness that she did not have you killed for the mess at Karvosti. It is a simple deduction who you are. She tells me many things. You are weighing your future usefulness against one more reason why you are inconvenient. I cannot give you that calculus. All I can say is that I personally would recommend you continue to be an occasional tool in her arsenal.
That would be very helpful to us.
Right. Early doors, as soon as the curfew lifts, we take a circuitous route to the legislate with our friend here. We hand him over.
Questions? Are we also taking the Ordo adepts? Are they adepts?
Yes, they are adepts.
Yeah. Are we also taking the adepts with him, handing them all over?
If
Perhaps.
we are to hand those in, then I think we should hand them in to the Duchess's agents as a. I don't know.
I agree. I think we leave them here.
And
We
the
can
Duchess's
lock them
agents
up.
interrogate them, and they say what they tell the story that we all know. I don't know how much they know about Kalthar, but I think they know enough for them to probably need to go to the Queen as well.
Third option, because I'm like that. We lock them up here for the morning. Maybe leave someone here to keep an eye on them. We go hand off our high value friend here. Friend, my God, what's become of me? Then we go and we ask Ganderald. He knows the inner workings of the Ordo. Is there anything we can do to find a third way out of this to smooth things over? Disappear them.
I agree that we shouldn't hand them in altogether, and the Ordo seems like a reasonable other option. I mean, we could also say to the, send a message with Kalthar here that, we've got them, come and get them. But I think if we take them in together, once they know they're going in to, face the Queen's justice, they're not going to keep their mouths shut as they're getting in there or being handed over.
So we need them quiet until we're ready to put them in front of whoever it is that they need to be put in front of, which is the Queen or somebody that works directly for her. Okay. And what about Artel? Perhaps I might have missed this bit, but like Kalthar, you said that you might be able to help apprehend him.
I told you everything I know.
I think someone's going to go case the bakery tomorrow.
Maybe the prospect that we could hunt down Artel would be a reason for the Queen to keep us alive, despite what we know.
A reason for the Duchess to keep us alive as well.
A thing you have not yet spoken of. The ceremonial site. When a ceremony is brought into being, the place where it occurs, it is changed, corrupted, sometimes to the same degree as where the ceremony is cast. Perhaps if you wish to find this Artel, you should start with the place where the ceremony was worked. It will be apparent, very apparent.
It will
know
be
how-
in the city, do you think? Or could it be anywhere?
If perhaps you think I exaggerate, if it was within the city, everyone in the city would know by now.
So outside the city. One other thing that happened that we haven't mentioned is that giants were somehow involved or came out of a fissure in the ground, but we're not quite sure how they tie into all this.
I know nothing of this.
Okay.
Effects of the ceremony, perhaps, or the corruption waking something dormant. I am knowledgeable on many things, but you must understand, after these years in captivity, the people and places and history of this land above the Titans is not one of them.
Okay. Understandable.
I don't know if I'm going to get much sleep tonight, so I'll take first watch.
So, to understand, in the morning, somebody is going to take Kalthar to see the person closest to the Queen that we can find. Somebody is going to stake out the bakery. Somebody is going to stay here with the adepts or take them to the Ordo Tower. These are the plans?
Here, we keep them here for now. Once we finished at the legislate, we will go and see if we can find Ganderald.
Yeah.
We should also ask the adepts if they have any idea where the ceremonial site may have been.
They said they were involved in the ceremony.
Exactly.
No, they didn't.
Good shout.
Did they not?
No.
They said that he took them into a ceremony. Said there would be damage and that people would get hurt, but it was necessary.
Yeah, into the concept of it happening, not into them performing it.
Oh, okay.
Understood. Okay.
But they may be able to also, give clues on.
They knew it was going to happen, but they weren't involved directly themselves.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
I think as many of us as possible should go with Kalthar, and maybe just one person here to guard, given what we know about his value. And Artel must still be wanting to get him or find him.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that's approaching bedtime then.
Okay. So we said we're going to have a watch through the night. The only thing that happens to anyone, well, first off, Kalthar does not appear to sleep, but instead will stay up, sat near the fire, staring into the embers of it. The adepts also do not only seem to sleep fitfully, perhaps to be expected, given their suspicions of their eventual fate. And the only other thing to note, Steo, at some point on your first watch, you will glance out of the window over the city to the northwest, and you spot that a couple of houses, or perhaps a large house, in the direction of the palace, but before you reach the actual palace walls, seems to be on fire. There's a little bit of kind of like furor and hubbub coming from that direction, but it's far enough away that you can't really get any gist of what's happening other than a building is on fire.
I'm going to actually raise Arendar and point this out to him and ask him if he knows what that building is.
You could definitely see the rough area, but not maybe the specific building. But Arendar, give me a cunning roll at, I don't know, -4, and we'll see if you can pin anything down.
Okay, if I get a 3 or lower. I get a 4. You stupid dice.
All you can really tell is that it's sort of like I'm just trying to get the rough. Yeah, all you can really tell is it's like in the direction of the tower, but beyond that,
Okay.
Towards the walls around, kind of around the palace. Yeah, I mean it's probably a pretty good neighborhood, but other than that, you can't put your finger on it.
Okay.
Aaron, please, for the love of goodness, tell me that's not the legislative.
We should probably start calling it the secretarium because that's its name.
The secretarium, sorry.
It's definitely not the secretarium.
It is not the secretarium. Is it maybe where the noble houses are?
No, that's in a different direction.
Good. Okay.
The secretarium is next. Is within the palace walls.
Okay.
I think I'm in half a mind to not sleep tonight because, like, literal Satan is in the room. But I think at some point Theo is going to succumb to sleep, and I would like to send a Brian telegram to our friend among the elves, the leader of the Iron Pact, or our handler in the Iron Pact is better.
Okay.
I am able to send an image. I think you house ruled it that I have to make a roll before. So if we're carrying on with that, I can definitely do it if you want.
I don't remember, unless the rules state that you need to make a roll. I'd say you've tried it enough times now that it's fine.
So I'm going to my capability is that I can basically send an image, and it has to be kind of somewhat dreamlike. So the image I'm going to send is Kalthar with the two mages in front of him. Kalthar has his hands on their shoulder, and he is wearing an Iron Pact ring.
Can you send
fabricating
images?
this? Yes, that's all I can send.
Okay.
He's wearing an Iron Pact ring, and he has his hands kind of on the two mages, but he's also kind of gesturing toward. Remember the other priest who worked on the destruction of the stone and who got taken into the care of the Iron Pact? He's going to be gesturing towards him in the distance.
Okay.
That's the symbolism I'm wrapping up. I'm going to be left on red, but hopefully.
Sure. It is sent out into the ether. And you wake in the morning. Yeah.
Come on, everyone. I hate morning plans.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's get going.
Bakery, secretarium, remaining here. Message to the Ordo. Who's doing what?
I will
consider staying here, given she worked yesterday.
Okay.
I will go to the secretarium, as I don't know. I think I have quite a talent for summoning the most authoritative person in the building if I demand loud enough. So I think I'm going to try that.
I'm going to follow Aaron and pretend to be his bodyguard because that's convenient.
I would quite like to go with you just to have more protection, but if we want to do the bakery at the same time, I can go to the bakery. If not, we could do the bakery afterwards.
That's time sensitive in that you want to be there when something happens to be able to see it.
Okay.
Askar, I think that's the best job for you given your sterling work yesterday. I'm sorry, it's not the most interesting.
Will I try to find Ganderald, or shall I come to the secretarium with you?
I'd say you come with us and we all swing past to see if we can catch Ganderald as soon as we've dropped off our charge.
I would point out that Ganderald is already on a task for you and says he'll get in contact with you when that task is done. I believe you are trying to make contact with the ritual master of the Audio Magica to find out more about ceremonies.
Yeah.
True.
Well, in that case, how about we swing back and meet up with Askrai for some baked goods after our trip to the drop-off?
Yes.
Okay. Well, looking at I'm just trying to ascertain whether the bakery or the secretarium is closer. Let me try and take a look. This is a better map because it has Does it? No. I'm pretty sure that the bakery was. I think it may actually be in the Harbour District. But I just want to get it right. So I beg your indulgence. No, it's in the Bohemian Quarter. Which is very close to Zoltar's Inn. So close, in fact, it may be possible for you as a group to swing past it on your way to the secretarium.
And just drop Ascarai there.
Sounds good.
Okay. And are you bringing Kalthar with you?
Yeah.
You are bringing him with you.
Yep.
Okay. Is he bound in any way? Like, are we changing the deal, as it were, in any way? Or
No, I think we have to keep him unbound to try and be sneaky about it. Otherwise, people are going to start talking.
sure.
If we're
He just needs to
bringing
be an
him,
old guy that's with us.
if we're bringing him with us, I would suggest against everyone going by the bakery, since there may be someone at the bakery who knows who he is and what he looks like.
Yeah. You notice as he comes down the stairs out of your room and down to Zoltar's Inn, he draws his hood over his head quite deeply, and he's wearing kind of monkish robes, right? And they have long sleeves, and he has his hands bound still, but he tilts his arms so the sleeves go over the. Basically, he's hiding the fact that his hands are bound.
Okay. Very thoughtful. Circuitous route, please, Serdar.
Yeah. So you leave. So we're all leaving Zoltar's Inn. Revelia is staying to watch after the two adepts. Is there any task we want to assign Anton, or shall he just accompany the Kalthar parade?
Well, let's not have Anton case the bakery, because that was the same dream team as we had yesterday. So maybe he can keep Revelia company and we'll pick him up later.
Sure. It also means I don't have to worry about playing him. So, yeah,
you're
absolutely.
welcome.
Well, the first thing it sounds like will happen is Ascarai reaching the bakery. Like, that's going to happen pretty fast. So, Ascarai, you walk down the street of the bakery, which is much as it was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. When you reach the bakery, though, that is where the similarity ends. The bakery is empty, the door hangs open, and no one is inside.
I'm gonna just go in and knock on the counter. Hello? Anybody there?
No answer.
I'm gonna spend 5 minutes just looking around to see if I can find anything, because
Sure.
could be something here.
You look down in the basement. There is nothing there other than bakery supplies. There is no one in the back rooms. You also find a stairwell leading upwards that ended in it still is a very healthy, thick, safe-looking door with a hell of a lot of locks on it. You open that and find a kind of apartment with a lot of quite well-made and fancy-looking dwarven furniture, but nothing else. It clearly is an apartment to be lived in, but there is nothing else. There's nothing else there now. There's enough, there's a little bit of dust. Things were on things until recently. Kind of cupboard doors are open, drawers are open.
Right. Someone's moved out in a real hurry.
There's a bed that's half made.
Okay.
Someone got out of it and then it never got made. And yeah, everything's gone.
Okay. I'll probably go down to the street, ask a passerby or anyone if there's anyone else there who's looking around I came for my morning something and there's the bakery's gone. I'll ask them
you know what?
What's happened here?
There's no one immediately like that, but there is there's a little shop across the street, like a little a cobbler there's a cobbler across the street, and his stall is already open at the front of his chamber, and he's like looks at you quite like not with the just nosily as you come out of the bakery. And if anyone saw what was going on, this person would have. You have no doubt about that, assuming it didn't happen in the middle of the night.
Okay, I'll go talk to them, and I'll just say, "Hey, I just came for breakfast, but they're gone, and they were here just yesterday, or what? Did you see them leaving?"
Stranger, I did see them leave. A bunch of dwarves came, took a whole load of stuff out from there. Then they talked to everyone what worked in there, and then they all buggered off.
Very strange.
Looked in a hurry.
What way were they going?
I mean, off that way. I lost sight of them around the corner. A few of them dwarves looked very fancy.
Interesting.
And like I say, a real hurry. Some of them got in one of those big carriages.
Up to no good, I bet.
Dwarves never are. They're casual racism for your stream.
All right, well, thanks for letting me know. I'll be sure
Chris,
to come back.
I'm not saying dwarves are never up to any good. This cobbler is racist.
I will say my thank yous and I will head off.
Okay.
I think knowing that the others are going to take kind of a circuitous route, I will try to go to like the entrance of where they'll be heading in a quite direct way and see if I can meet up with them. But
see if you can catch up with them. Yeah, absolutely. Well, knowing that the secretarium is within the palace walls, heading for the palace gates seems like, or the gates for those walls seems like the way to go. That seems to make a lot of sense. As everyone else is going through the street, I'm assuming we're doing this quite early, like getting up and getting on with the day. The streets seem, again, you know what? Yesterday things seemed to calm down a little. They seem on edge a little again today, and you see an awful lot of people walking around armed and getting in other people's business. You yourselves draw more than a few glances as you walk through the city, and the as you're walking along, I think the last couple of times we've talked about like having every bloody time I forget the term, someone announcing the matters of the day.
A crier.
A crier. I don't know. I've got a block on that term. I have a block on that term. Today is no different. The criers are out in force. There's one on nearly every street corner, and they're all crying the same thing. The elves' legation attacked. Several dead. Envoy Alori missing. Black cloaks responsible. Witnesses have accused the Whip of Prios.
Oh, there's a whole heap of names I didn't want to hear first thing in the morning.
The Whip of Prios are the ones that we faced in
Ravenna, yes.
And there's only one group that call themselves the Whip of Prios, or
Yes.
it's like the
Whip of Prios is like, depending on where you fall in the debate, one could say either the most dedicated arm of the Black Cloaks or the extremist arm of the Black Cloaks.
Right. They're the Spanish Inquisition.
Yes.
What is it they're said to have done?
Apparently the elves' legation has been attacked. Several are dead, presumably elves or perhaps human servants. The envoy, Alori, who you met at the Cathedral of Martyrs, is missing. Black Cloak's responsible. Witnesses accuse the whip of Prios.
The elves' legation, as in
The envoys
embassy.
from the elves to Queen Corinthia.
right. Okay, diplomats essentially.
Yeah.
Right.
The chief,
Great.
one of whom who's called Ilori, who you've met, is missing.
Right. They are one of the flavors of trouble that seems to follow us everywhere we go.
Yeah, we'll work on this later. Aaron, if we get pulled over, can you make sure you've got one of those seals available so we can get the hell out of any awkward questions nice and quick?
Yes, that is a good idea. I suppose it is safe to assume that the Whip of Prios would not be happy about what happened to the cathedral.
And
Yes, considerably so.
And they're also tangentially aware of our behavior, so we should add an inch to our step.
Okay. As I say, you draw more than a few stairs from these temporary guardsmen as you go through the town, but perhaps they don't quite seem bold enough just yet to decide to accost a group of heavily armed individuals. You find yourselves, you know what, given Askarai's nimbleness, I think you arrive at the palace walled gates to see Askarai lurking nearby. Because you said you were going to be circuitous, so...
Ascarai will head over if he sees the group coming.
You have heard the criers as well, Askarai, by the way.
Bakery's gone. Well, the bakery's there, but there's no bakery inside of the bakery. If that makes any sense.
Was it attacked?
Seems like they just left. One of their neighbors said that basically a bunch of dwarves came and just cleared the place out overnight, and they just left everything gone.
Went to grind.
So the guards from the plot got the word out, and the word is that they needed to disappear.
Yeah,
Which
pretty
means we missed something.
Which maybe that just means that the dwarves from the plob felt like we were going to get away with the prisoner and that they didn't want to be any part of what followed.
Yeah, look, either way, I am phenomenally anxious and will remain so until we complete our first task of the day.
Yes.
Aaron, I think this one's over to you.
Okay. So the palace, the walls of the palace and the rise that the palace is on are very large, very thick, and the gate is equally so and is guarded by an entire squad of panzers. A couple of them are on their horses and are kind of standing there more as kind of like sentinels / an imposing presence. But there are a couple of dismounted panzers who are standing. And occasionally, since you've been talking to Asgrave, you've seen a couple of people go up. Both of those were let through. And they seem to kind of be going up and, presenting something and being let through. You're not just kind of allowed in and out randomly. It seems, that should be obvious, I suppose. How are we, do we have a plan as to what we're going to present to guards to let us through to get to the secretarium?
You have the Duchess's
You do.
sign.
Yep. Okay.
I think that's more straightforward than trying to blag anything.
Very possibly. Okay. Are we going up to these panzers as a group then?
Yes.
Okay. As you do so, the lead panzer kind of takes in your level of dress and the way you're walking and says, "Halt, citizens. What's your business through the walls?"
We are visiting the secretarium, sir.
Do you have a reason for this or any kind of authorization?
I have authorization, and I will show the writ.
You must have had a busy week.
Oh, yes, sir.
All right. We'll need your names. Write them here. She gestures to. There's a little plinth nearby or stand with just an open book, and literally like a visitor's book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of makes sense. And she says, "Just put secretarium under reason."
All of our names individually?
Yes, please, sir.
I will write all of our names apart from Kalthar's, and instead I will put whatever.
Stephen has suggested Beramo.
yeah.
Oh, you have
I'm
to,
gonna put
yes.
Beramo.
Do we get Beramo into trouble? This is a turnaround.
I mean, there's a
You
lot
can
of
if you want,
Beramos.
you can if you want, but I'm interested to see what you were going to write down.
I was gonna put whatever, like, the most
John
generic
Smith.
name in Ambria is, like
Sure.
the John or Dave.
Yeah.
of
The John
Ambria.
Smith sort of thing. Joe Blogs. Yeah, sure. Or or name. It's fine. You won't get Beramo in trouble. There are indeed many Beramos. Almost as if each individual Beramo doesn't mean anything and is unimportant.
In a way, Matt, aren't we all Beramo?
I know I am.
Mm.
Actually, I'm
saying
the
is-
opposite of Beramo in that people don't care about me and they should.
What you're saying is that we should have more characters called Beramo turn up. It's almost like you're
Moving on.
avoiding using that name for some reason.
Moving on. They seem happy with this and they open the gates for you, or rather they give the order for the gates to be opened. The gates definitely need to be opened mechanically. They're very, very large. You walk through those and up. You find yourself basically on the walls are already on a slight rise. But when you go inside, there's like a flattened path around the base of the central hill that the palace is on. That hill slope is covered with cultivated vegetation, sort of pretty, but also probably quite difficult to make your way through if you were, for example, trying to assault the inner walls, which are above you about most of the way up the hillside. There's also various towers and turrets. You can see the domes of the palace itself beyond those inner walls. What else is there? There's a very large sort of round tower in front of you, which you know to be the prison tower. And there is also a long curved ramp leading up to the second set of gates. The second set of gates they're guarded, but they are open. And people like the Panzers just seem to be kind of like watching the people as they go through. They've already got a reason to be in there. So
I'd like to ask, although I kind of already know the answer, is there much in the way in the architecture here that it would indicate that it's Symbaric, or is this all Ambrian stone?
No. This is Lindaros. I mean, this is definitely not any remains of Lindaros. This is entirely built by Ambria upon its arrival at the ruins of Lindaros.
I'm probably not going to get a chance to see the art gallery now, am I? I reckon we're only going to get busier. You'll have to tell me about it, Aaron.
So as you go up this ramp and through the second set of gates where the Panzers watch you carefully, you can see ahead of you the huge palace of Queen Corinthia and House Kohinoor. Several large round towers kind of jumbled into each other with a longer, flatter but still multi-story sort of arched building coming out from the side. You turn to the left and you see a number of other things ahead of you. You see the Indaros House of Nobles, essentially a kind of knight's hall where nobles spend their time. You briefly visited the one in Thistlehold back in Wrath of the Warden, I believe.
And I have been told by the Queen to visit the one here.
It's true. Side quest right now.
Yeah, let's do it.
As you go past the House of Nobles, you are now also between the prison tower and a larger building over on your right, which you know to be the Triumph Theatre. And ahead of you is a set of somewhat more humdrum but still large buildings that include the Royal Secretarium and what is called the Key Seat. And the Royal Archives. So a lot of very functional bureaucratic buildings are ahead of you. It does not take you long to walk to the entrance to the Royal Secretarium, inside which you can see a lot of people walking around in quite a large lobby filled with extremely elaborately carved wooden furniture all along the walls, all along the surfaces, occasionally dotted with marble. You walk in there and no one is looking at you because everyone is going about on their own business. There is, however, if I can find the right thing, there's essentially a front desk. And it... One second. Yes. There is a young man in a kind of, I suppose, kind of scholars or clerk's robes, who is standing around somewhat idly, leafing through some papers on a desk, and seems to be what passes, perhaps, for a reception.
Okay. Before I approach, I am going to check with the group. I wonder whether perhaps using our writs is not a good idea, because we do not want to be forwarded to
I think
yes.
the Ritz helped us get in the gate. That was enough. The other question is, do we go with the suggestion of saying we have the cathedral prisoner, or do we say that, and I hate to do this, the heroes of a sinkhole request an audience?
We're
And
probably not going to get an audience. What we need to do.
Okay, well,
it may get us an audience with the manager.
If we impress that it's a matter of some importance and urgency, the Queen knows who we are, perhaps it's better not to say who's with us, even in vague terms.
You've convinced me. Aaron, do you want to try with that tack?
The heroes of the sinkhole.
I hate it. I hate it. I hate using it.
I'm sorry.
I am, yes. I have something of a plan, and I think this may help.
Okay.
This may not be relevant right now, but I have had the thought, now that we're here, of whether we do want to bring in the most famous enemy of Ambria into a direct meeting with the Queen without 100% knowing that he's not going to murder her.
Which is why Elindra's approach and Aaron's approach is probably the best one to take.
Okay.
Because it's not up to us, Askrai. We can't solve every bloody problem. They've got fucking Panzers. They can fucking use them. Get me out of this city, please.
I will approach the front desk, and I will very charmingly attempt to impress upon the receptionist that the heroes of the sinkhole would like to speak with as senior a manager as we can, as a matter of urgency.
The young man kind of leans forward and says, the heroes of the...
Oh.
You've
Well, that's
been waiting to do this, Matt. You've been waiting to do this. Probably for months. I can read it. Your giggles and your laughs, they're just guilt writ large in 380p, you sack of bastard.
In that case, I will say, we have previously worked with Captain Decamado of Thistlehold.
Oh, I see. And I'm sorry, your business with the secretarium?
I would like to discuss that with the secretarium, if I may.
With the secretarium?
Oh, I would like to discuss that with someone more senior, if I may. No offense to yourself, of course, sir.
I'm sorry, that may be possible if it is required, but I must ask what your business somewhat pertains to, sir. Arindar doesn't have to be the only person talking. We don't have to rely on John to say everything.
It is concerning the recent tragedy at the cathedral.
All right. Are you offering your services, or...?
We have valuable information to provide and would like to provide it to someone in a position of seniority.
Very well. You may be in for something of a wait. Please, there is a chamber over there. Please take seats. And I'm sorry, you said the heroes of...
That's not important. Don't worry about it.
I would like to have an identity, sir.
If you mention the heroes of the sinkhole to Her Grace the Queen of these lands, she will know who you're talking about.
Perhaps, sir. Please, the chamber over there.
Let's go over to the waiting room then.
Okay.
Get me out of the city, Arindar. Arindar, you have to get me out of the city.
This is it's a large chamber with benches around the side, and you all sit on it. Kalthar sits kind of slightly awkwardly between, rather than just make up two people who'd be the most awkward for him to sit between. I am going to roll a die. Sits awkwardly between Askarai and Elindra.
Yeah, thank goodness.
How is it that someone who hasn't seen the light of day for probably 20 years knows who we are, and the one person we need to know who we are doesn't have a clue?
To be clear, I wasn't expecting the receptionist to know who we are. I was expecting him to respond to the fact that the Queen will.
I'm sure they get it all the time, but nonetheless, may I reiterate, I would love to be anywhere else except here. Steve is not going to sit down. He's going to kind of fidget and be a bit walky aroundy.
If you think about it, isn't it quite unusual that we're the first group of people to call ourselves the heroes of the sinkhole? Because that couldn't have been the first sinkhole in the entire history of Ambria, could it?
Yeah, but not many sinkholes need heroes. You know?
I would like to point out, this is in character. This is Aaron staring at the wall.
Okay.
Not many sinkholes have things coming out of them. It's mostly just things going into them.
Not many people who work in the palace at Indaros care that much about what happens in a little provincial town on the edge of the forest.
Little provincial town on the edge of the forest. God, just get me out of this town, Arindar. Please get me out of this town.
To Indaros, it is.
Docks are in that direction, and the east gate is in that direction.
The peace and calm of the Ambrian South is sport by the blood of its northern provinces. the people of the south do not bear this much mind.
That is a way of putting it.
After you're here for a while, after around 45 minutes, several individuals come into the room. They are all everyone roll cunning.
Yeah. Fail.
Another scraped pass.
I got a pass.
Okay. Everyone who passes gets an immediate sense of capability, dangerous capability from them. And can everyone roll vigilant at, let's say, -4?
Yep.
No, I do not get the required 1 that I would need to pass.
Okay. So only Ascarai notes that they're all armed. They're all armed in very unobtrusive ways. It's just, you see the slight bulge or outline of their weapons against the sides of their legs, in the small of their backs, things like that. They sit around near and stand around near the entrance quite casually, and then another man comes through the door. He is tall and kind of prematurely balding a little. He doesn't look that old, maybe in his late 30s or early 40s, although it could be deceptive. He's wearing fairly plain clothes, and he closes the door quite quietly after him. Since you match the descriptions, I will come to the conclusion that you are the heroes of the sinkhole. I apologize for being kept waiting. It cannot be imagined that a clerk might know of important events in Thistlehold.
I hope you understand that we loathe to use that name lightly. We do not like that assignment. We were hoping to raise attentions.
I understand a need for privacy, and I thoroughly respect a need for... This is him pausing, but also me trying to remember the word. Like a kind of like hushed subtlety.
Discreetness.
Yeah, that's
Discretion.
It's only one of the attributes in the game.
Discretion. I am Count Melion. You may speak to me as if speaking to the institution of the secretarium itself.
Can I search my memory to see whether Count Melion or House Melion rings any bells to me?
You've heard of House Melion, but they don't have a big reputation.
Okay.
As for this specific Count Melion, no.
I think I'm going to go over to our charge. Oh God, why does his name escape me so late?
Kalthar.
Kalthar, and I'm probably going to remove his restraints.
Okay. Melion definitely notices that you are taking restraints off someone. This is perhaps an escorted individual.
We are here to return this individual to the charge of the Queen.
May I ask the identity of this individual?
He was a guest in the cathedral.
I see. Is are you returning? You understand that I work for the Queen.
I do.
Discretion.
Very well. I find myself in an unusual situation. I would ask that you, before you leave, inform me of where you are staying in Inderos. I regret that if you do not, I may have to ask you to wait for some time.
Where was the inn we were at last night?
You were at Zoltar's Inn, although previously you were staying at the Tower.
Yeah, I think if this pause is in character, Steve's just going to chip in and say, we stayed at Zoltar's Inn.
Yes.
Very well. The Queen thanks you for your discretion. You are requesting no reward. Is this perhaps you wish there to simply be an understanding about this matter?
I think it is fair to say that we trust that we trust in the grace of Her Majesty, and we would not be so gauche as to demand anything for this exchange. And I'm sure this will not be the last time we speak with your agency.
Our reward in this instance is the service to and ongoing prosperity of Ambria.
And perhaps with the knowledge that we are in our course of action supporting the kingdom, perhaps should help be needed in the future for the purpose of supporting the kingdom, it could be requested.
If only all the subjects of our Queen were so conscientious. Thank you, then. He steps aside. There is a notable relaxing in the men and women stood around him. And he opens the door and kind of steps past you and is kind of looking at... Kalthar is just sat kind of staring at the opposite wall, and he's just glancing down at Kalthar in curiosity.
Before I leave, I'm just going to kind of not sinisterly whisper, but just kind of speak in a low tone to Kalthar and say, please, if anything you have told to us has been true, please don't make me regret not killing you. For my family's sake, for my children. Please.
Perhaps one day, Sergeant, that is what will happen. Do not discount anything.
I will take my leave at that point.
I will sort of take Steo gently by the elbow and walk out with him.
I think that's probably a good place to leave our stream for the week. Thank you very much to my lovely players. Thank you very much to all our viewers. We actually had a new follow during that. Apologies if I mispronounced this horribly. But thank you to Repose Cavaliero. Again, I don't know if that is correct, but thank you regardless. Okay, let's start racking up the old comments and questions, please, John. And as John does that, check out below. We've got a bunch of links for the kind of things you might expect. Have a look at them if that's what you want. Our current schedule is Symbaroum is fortnightly on Wednesdays. Yellow King is monthly on Thursdays, and Call of Cthulhu is weekly on Mondays. That's our ongoing Master Nyarlathotep campaign. Have a look at that, especially if you watch this and thought, I'd love this, but this GM is shit. Because that's Johnny, it's not me. So, you know. Yeah. John, do you want to start popping some stuff up? Steve, I like how the Symbaroum campaign is a succession of trolley problems where the tram tracks have been cleverly camouflaged. Yeah.
Oh boy, we got some consequences coming from this one, I reckon.
Especially when you've got a really picky, anal GM running it as a simulationist campaign. It wasn't necessarily meant to be to begin with. So every time there's like a complication, I'm there going, but what would that really mean if this was a real world? And just making it way worse.
I would also like to flag this was posted an hour before, so it's not a follow-on. But I feel like, in comparison, it's a pretty good follow-on.
I have the sense that this is going to go off the rails so fast. Maybe.
I mean, I shared that sense, but I did not have down for this session that we were gonna almost immediately befriend actual Satan. That was not.
I don't think he's actual Satan. I think he's actual.
He's
historical figure that I don't think you can say the name of on YouTube at the moment.
This is the problem with Symbaroum. Like, they just twist everything. They can't be angry at anyone for any significant amount of time because it turns out, they had a tragic childhood. Just give me a bad guy I can beat up.
It does feel very Symbaroum that, like, this guy who's been supposedly the worst guy, we meet him and he's like, he's done bad stuff, but he's all right now. And, like,
he's really sorry.
Yeah.
We did that stream a few weeks ago of like speculations on where the plot was going, and I forget who it was, but somebody definitely put forward the idea that like the Dark Lords were essentially refugees from things going tits up somewhere else on the map.
Oh, I hate it so much. I love it. I love it, but
almost as if history is repeating itself.
Yeah. Yeah, but like, so I forget who it was, but someone called this out a couple of weeks ago. So whoever that was, well done, you.
Yeah,
I think it was Chris.
Well, hurt people. Am I right?
Yeah.
Would have liked to have hurt some people. Would have got 2 XP.
Hurt people and the Hurt Syndicate hurt people, and if you get that, then you're truly on our wavelength.
We could start calling ourselves the Hurt Syndicate instead of the Heroes of the Sinkhole.
Why not? I mean, we've got so much in common with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
is all wrestling. This is all wrestling stuff. Just ignore it. Move past it.
Also, I'm not sure as a group in character we could just rebrand like that. Like, we're called what we're called now.
Yeah. Everyone knows changing the name of something very, very successful will just completely tank your brand recognition. No one would ever do it. Anyway, next comment. I can't remember the exact thing we were talking about at the time, but I think this was sincere.
Yeah, it definitely was. Old Uncle Mojo. So great to see you all being so invested and involved in the adventure that there's no clowning around at a serious moment like this, and the players make thoughtful questions, etc. It is a joy to watch. Thank you, Uncle Mojo. That's exactly what we aim for. I too have been plagued my entire life with. And feel free to call me humorless old bastard for this, but I have been plagued my entire life by the difference in, like, especially in a role-playing group, but also in some other activities, between like knowing how to have a laugh, but also taking it seriously, and the notion that one cannot take anything seriously, or one is somehow uncool or it is a terrible crime in the modern age to appreciate something honestly and directly and seriously without a layer of irony. And I am very much a fan of, if you're role-playing something, it can have emotions more than this is funny or a bit of a, we're bantering like it. And I'm really glad it comes across that we're not doing that. We do other stuff like that sometimes, but
Yeah,
I'm a little concerned that I think this comment may have appeared about the time, but maybe not in light of the in-joke, but I think it occurred at about the time I took enormous lengths not to say buffet.
Yes.
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
why I was wondering
And-
if it was ironic.
And I thoroughly appreciate that. Because there's a time and place, right? And this, I don't think there's no place for humor in TTRPGs. We've done entire thing. Go watch us play Goblin Quest, for fuck's sake. But I think like there is a spectrum of atmospheres and moods, and I think it's important when you want the spectrum to be less humorous that you have a group that is willing to go with you on them and don't have anyone at a level of emotional immaturity enough that perhaps they just have to make a joke out of everything, otherwise they might have to think about something serious.
I get concerned that sometimes I am the limit of the goofy gooberage in this party. So
if you're the limit, Chris, then we're doing fine. Mojo, that was when you were talking to Kalthar. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hey, if that's your kind of role playing that you feel you have to goof around and just do banter, and you love that, more power to you. Everything is built towards you. So
let's play Paranoia someday.
Yeah. I think there's
Paranoia. Yeah.
I think it's a perfectly legitimate way to want to play games, and I don't begrudge anyone wanting to do that. But I would sort of say that if that is the kind of group that you're playing with, maybe Symbaroum isn't the game for you.
The themes of it seem at odds with that, certainly. Both expressed within the book and expressed directly by the writers themselves. And it's not like you can't add levity to something that has very serious, dark topics. We do. We have jokes all the time. But yeah, it's definitely a thing within TTRPGs. Other hobbies have it as well, but it's been a thing in TTRPGs my whole life, for sure, that sometimes I think it attracts people who struggle to not take something lightly. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I think all hobbies do that to a certain degree, but and it can be something. It can be something that does irritate me if that's not what I'm going for. But,
I also think that the script writers for the Marvel films have quite a lot to answer for.
Sure. Yeah.
Well,
increasingly, I could talk a lot about the MCU. As someone who actually quite likes a lot of the MCU, but all I'm saying is that, like, no matter his other flaws, which are accordingly many, there's really never been anyone to write Joss Whedon dialogue as good as Joss Whedon. And trying to build an entire franchise or even type of media nowadays purely out of that kind of dialogue is probably going to hit you with diminishing returns.
Yeah.
Next, we went on a whole journey there. I like this. Not all heroes have sinkholes. Not all heroes have sinkholes.
That's why I was cracking up at the start of the Q&A session, because I read that prematurely and I was like, that's awful. That's a bad post. I love it.
It's a good one.
I would updoot that toots. Shout out to any Mastodon users in chat.
Fair enough. When we show up, it's bad news. Yeah. Increasingly just for you. So there we go. Lovely stuff. All right. If that's everything, then that is our session this week. As I said, at the moment, we're running fortnightly. That's until things get on a bit more of an even keel. I thought we were getting there, but then I had to cancel Yellow King about a week ago. So clearly it's not. So we will carry on being fortnightly for now. And hopefully in a couple of months' time, we'll be back on the weekly train for Symbaroum. But Darkest Star is going really well. I'm really enjoying it. I hope my players are enjoying it. And I hope you're enjoying it too out there in the world. Trademark. All right. Let's jump off and we'll see you soon. Take care. Stay safe. Farewell.